Sturm again, and we're going to do a really short video on latitude and longitude. So latitude and longitude is a coordinate system so that we can better find and describe places on the Earth. It is also used to describe other planets and other moons. So for instance, if you went to Mars or to the moon, there's actually a latitude and longitude for each of those locations also. So on Earth, latitude is measured from the equator and then north or south towards the poles. So the equator is a 0 latitude line. The North Pole is 90 degrees north latitude, and the South Pole is 90 degrees south latitude. That means that the only possible latitudes you can have are going to be numbers from 0 to 90 degrees. We use the measurements of degrees, minutes, and seconds because our planet is a sphere. So when we're looking at measurements of a sphere, degrees, minutes, and seconds is one way to measure the area or the location on a sphere. So using those measurements, a degree is made up of 60 minutes. And then a minute is made up of 60 seconds. So those minutes or seconds and seconds are very similar to what we see on a clock. So when you see the numbers for latitude and longitude, you often will see three numbers. The first number is the number of degrees. The second number is the number of minutes. And the third number is the number of seconds. So on this map, we can tell where the map is located. Of course, this is in Alabama. And Alabama, like the rest of the United States, is located north of the equator. So whatever degrees latitude we're looking at, we know it's going to be a certain number of degrees north, representing north of the equator. So to find that on the map, we're going to look at the lines that would be parallel to the equator. So the equator is an imaginary line that goes around the fattest part of our planet. So for instance, in the Western Hemisphere, it goes through South America, and it goes right through the country of Ecuador, as well as through the Amazon rainforest. So we're looking at the number of degrees north of Ecuador, where we're looking at this particular map. So if we're north of the equator, that means the bottom part of the map is going to be closer to the equator, and the top part of the map is going to be farther away from the equator. So we're looking at this bottom line. This would be horizontal to the equator. In other words, it's horizontal to the fattest part of the planet, that big bulge part of the Earth that represents where the equator is. This horizontal line at the top would be furthest away from the equator, and this is going to be the latitude line that's closest to the North Pole. Now, just out of logic, do you think that Alabama is closer to the equator or closer to the North Pole? So think about our climate, think about our winters, and you should come to the conclusion, without knowing any numbers at all, that we are much closer to the equator than we are to the North Pole. Now, if we know that latitude can only be from 0 to 90 degrees, and we're closer to the equator, then you can think about, well, what's half of 90? Half of 90 is 45. So that means whatever number the latitude number is going to be, it's going to be less than 45 degrees, because we're definitely less than halfway to the North Pole. So where you find latitude and longitude numbers on this map are in the corners of the map. So we have a latitude and longitude in this corner, latitude and longitude in this corner, latitude and longitude in this corner, and a latitude and longitude in this corner. What you'll notice, let's look at the top half of the map first, is that there's two numbers here and there's two numbers here. But of those numbers, there's one number here and one number here. That's the exact same number. It hasn't changed. It's the same going all the way across the top of the map. Well, that is your northern latitude line. So because we're measuring latitude, and latitude represents this horizontal line that's parallel to the equator, the number on this side is going to be identical to the number on this side. So looking at the numbers in this corner, the northern latitude for this particular map is 34 degrees and 45 minutes. It also has 0 seconds, but they don't always, if it's 0 seconds, they don't always put the seconds on there. So this is 34 degrees, 45 minutes. Now, that's the northern latitude. So the southern latitude, you're going to look at these corners. And again, because we're looking at a line that's parallel to the equator, we're going to look at the number that goes across on both sides. So it's the number that occurs on this side, and that is your southern latitude line. So in this case, it's 34 degrees, 37 minutes, and 30 seconds. So they included seconds on here because seconds are important in this measurement. So now you have your southern latitude line and you have your northern latitude line. One thing that you may have noticed on this map, it's included actually in the name at the bottom of the map, is that this is called the Hollywood, the topo map that's underneath this is the Hollywood 7.5 minute quadrangle. 7.5 minutes is referring to the number of minutes, and this is a measurement again on a sphere, the number of minutes from the northern latitude to the southern latitude, from the western longitude to the eastern longitude. So hang on just a second. So I want to show you this. So if we write down the northern latitude numbers, 34 degrees, 45 minutes, and 30 seconds, and we subtract the southern latitude numbers, 34 degrees, 37 minutes, and 30 seconds, you just subtract them the same way you would subtract if you were doing 12 hours minus 3 hours and 30 minutes. So it's the same as if you're subtracting time. So we just subtract them by putting the smaller number underneath, and the result is 7 minutes, 30 seconds. That corresponds to 7.5 minutes. So what I'm just showing you here represents the latitude, the north latitude minus the south latitude. The difference is 7.5 minutes. So the longitude is measured from a different point of origin. The longitude measures the distance going from east to west around the globe. So latitude measures north and south. Longitude measures east and west. So we're going to be looking at the east and west sides of the map. So how do I know which side's the east side and the west side? Remember, top of the map is north. That means the bottom of the map is the south. This side of the map, your left-hand side is going to be west, and the right-hand side is going to be east. Now, this is true because we live in the United States. If we were living in Asia, then it would still be the west and the east side, but the numbers that we'd see for the longitude would be a little bit different. Because be like going to the southern hemisphere and measuring degrees south of the equator. So the point of origin for longitude, these long lines, so the line that goes from this corner to this corner is called the longitude line. And we have the line that goes from this corner to this corner is also a longitude line. Think of them as the long lines. Those are your longitude. The point of origin for your longitude lines is a city in England. And you may ask, well, why was the city in England? Well, it's just that's where a lot of map makers originated from. And so many years ago, that city was chosen as a point of origin. There's nothing unique or special other than that's where the map makers lived. So they used their city as the point of origin. So everything to the west of that point of origin is going towards the west. Everything to the east is going east of that origin. So on the globe, of course a globe, a sphere, is 360 degrees all the way around the globe. When we use the measurements for longitude, the measurements go halfway around. So you can go 180 degrees to the west or 180 degrees to the east. But we don't go all 360 all the way around. So if you guys see a globe, you should be able to find the country of England on that globe. And the United States is west of England. So all the numbers that we see here in the United States are west. So we're on that measurement from 0 to 180 degrees west. Now, I want you to think again, where is Alabama located in comparison to England? We're a little bit further away. You know, we're further away from England than we are from the equator. So we're a little bit further away, so that means that the numbers that you see for longitude are going to be bigger numbers than the numbers you see for latitude. So if you look at the numbers in the corners, again, you're going to see, in this case, if we look at the upper corner here and the upper corner here, we already know that the numbers that begin with 34 degrees are latitude, so we're not looking at those. We're going to be looking at the numbers that begin with 85 and 86 degrees. So in this corner, we have 86 degrees, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. That means we are 86 degrees away from England, from Greenwich, England. And you'll note this 86 degrees extends from this corner all the way down to this corner because it represents this longitude line. So this is the side of the map that's farthest away from England. If we go to this side of the map is a smaller number. It's 85 degrees, and to be honest, I don't have my glasses on. 85 degrees, 52 minutes, and 30 seconds. And so this side of the map, it's a smaller number, and that's closer to England. You may also note that if I take 86 degrees, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, and subtract 85 degrees, 52 minutes, 30 seconds, I'm going to get 7.5 minutes. That's why this is called a quadrangle. It means that all 4 sides are exactly 7.5 minutes wide. And so that's done on purpose. That's used so that this map can be used for surveying and other methods like that. So that is your basic latitude and longitude for this particular map. You can actually find specific latitudes and longitudes for any of the points that are in this area. We don't get into that in geology. Geography, though, can actually teach you how to find very specific latitudes and longitudes for any map, especially any topographic map. And so a lot of the extra numbers that you see on this map, we're not going to be using. Those are used for more advanced measurements. And again, if you'd like to learn more about that, you can take a class in the geography department. But we're just going to be looking at the latitude and longitude numbers that are basically in the corners of this map, because that gives us a placement as to where we are in the world for this particular map. The other thing to remember, let's see, for latitude and longitude, is just logic. So if you know that longitude is the distance of, in this case, Alabama from England, and you came in here and you looked at this map and you're going, is the longitude the 34 degrees or the 88 degrees? Well, again, we know where Alabama is in relation to the North Pole. So if you see this 85 degrees and you're thinking, well, maybe that's latitude, be real. It's just common sense that 85 degrees is right up next to the North Pole. And you know we are not up next to the North Pole. So that tells you that that 85 degree number is definitely not the latitude. It has to be the longitude. So some of it is a little bit of common sense when you start reading these maps. All the topographic maps used in the United States do have the latitude and longitude in all 4 corners, so it should be easy for you to find. The next thing we'll go over is township, range, and section, and I'll do another separate little video just for that.